Hey everybody, welcome to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Very excited, 35 wins in a row. I recorded the last batch of episodes last night. I had a confidence about me, R7, K1, PDB4. That confidence obviously worked out. I'm very thankful for it, but today, for whatever reason, I feel slightly more apprehensive. I don't know why, it's just a natural variation in hormones and, you know, neurotransmitters and stuff like that on a day-to-day basis. I find myself a little bit apprehensive for some reason, but that's okay, because we're gonna get through it. Look at that. The apprehension is faded away, merely confidence remains. So everything's going pretty well. It's Monday today. It's a nice day outside. I know that through glass, not as a result of being outdoors, although I will need to go outdoors at some point soon. I got a couple supplies need to be re-gotten. It is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'll don my hazmat suit, put on your work boots and your respirator. It's an Aqua Teen Hunger Force joke. You ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force? I own the whole show on DVD, and by I own, I mean I bought it when I was 16, and my parents have been saddled with storing and moving those discs ever since. Okay, I'll live with that. I think that's actually still worth it, although I would have liked the key as well. Yo. But if we can get you at just the right time, okay, that sucked. But, I'll crack it. I do like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I don't want to say, like, oh, I don't think the show is very good. We might as well use this in advance. What I will say is that I think that show has maybe the highest gulf I've ever seen in a television show firsthand of quality between the best episodes and the worst episodes. I mean, obviously, I liked it at least a little bit if I bought the whole thing on DVD, right? If you weren't... Oh, it's close. I think we will go with Paperclip, though. If you weren't alive in that era where you were buying DVDs on the regular for shows you actually, like, greatly enjoyed, they're not cheap. Like, a DVD box set, now a Blu-ray box set, it can run you, like, in the high double digits of dollars. Maybe even more now, because I'm honestly working on, like, a 10-year lag period there. Like, I haven't walked inside of a store to buy a movie on Blu-ray in quite a long time. That being said, like the great episodes, the Mooninites, Billy Witch Doctor, those are great slices of comedy. Some of the worst ones, you're like, this didn't need to exist at all. This kind of prompted because I saw this image on Reddit. I don't know why I said image so strangely, but it was like the average IMDb rating. Well, not average, really, like, episode by episode, the IMDb ratings of popular television shows. And it shows you, like, the best episode and the worst episode and the variance between them. And there were a lot of, like, I mean, there's some obvious ones. I've watched Breaking Bad. The worst, well, worst is maybe a matter of opinion, but the most divisive Breaking Bad episode is an episode called Fly. That takes place inside of a single location. And is a little bit less fraught. Oh, fantastic. A little bit less fraught with the same kind of drama that the rest of the series is more of like a character study, if you will. I'll admit, it's not my favorite episode either. There's no bad episodes of that show. But if there is one that is inessential, it's probably that one right there. But it was funny seeing like what shows were consistent and what shows were like totally off the rails. Like, some of the most consistent, even though I don't really like it, I kind of agree. Friends was, like, really consistent and didn't have many episodes that were not liked. People pretty much, if you like Friends, you like every episode almost exactly the same, which I do believe holds true. Because I don't really like Friends, and I pretty much dislike every episode equally. I never would watch an episode and be like, and I've seen a lot of Friends. My mom was really into it when I was a kid. I was coming of age in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, so it was an appropriate time for that. But, I've seen a lot of it, but I was never like that into the show. And as an adult, when I've ever seen an episode, I've never been like, oh, this episode's really bad. I've always just been like, yeah, it's Friends. It's like eating a Big Mac, you know? It's the same every time, more or less. Seinfeld, also very consistent. In fact, it was funny, the lowest rated episode of Seinfeld was the clip episode. Which makes sense. It's always like, that's the most annoying thing when you're like, oh, Seinfeld's on. And then you go look at it and it's like, you know, I was in the pool, Jerry. You can't, you know, it's just clips from previous episodes. I don't like a clip show. But the fact that the clip show is the lowest rated is, says something about the quality of the show. And then there's other shows where you're like, they either started bad and got great or started great and got kind of bad. I don't want to necessarily dig up this old chestnut again. But Game of Thrones was... Oh, come on, dude. Come on, dude. Game of Thrones, season 1 to even 7, honestly, was very highly rated. Maybe like the occasional dip in season 5 with the Sansa and Ramsay Bolton stuff. But then season 8 was like, like went off a cliff. Dude, this run is gotten a little spicy, honestly. I hate to say it. I don't even know if we should have picked up Stompy now that I think about it, but we're here now. Just remember, what do we value? HP. Use your key. Buy a spirit heart. Live life. And then, like, kind of on the other end of things, there was, like, The Office and, that's tough. That's a tough one to choose from there. There was The Office and, Star Trek The Next Generation. Both of which, like, season 1... for The Office, the lower rated episodes were towards the end, but season 1 is also, like, a noticeable lower quality, I think, than the, you know, seasons like 2 through 7, but, well, maybe like 2 through 6. Anyway, I'm not getting too anal about it. Same with Deep Space, or not Deep Space Nine, but Next Generation. Next Generation starts kind of, like, they're finding their sea legs, and then they, you know, grow the beard. That's why it's got its own TV tropes page and everything. But yeah, it was just interesting. Also made me look at some shows that I should watch. Like Mr. Robot, for example. Very tightly rated episodes. Like all the episodes were very close to one another and also very high up. And then I was in the comments and people were like, oh, the only reason the episode that's lowest rated is even rated the lowest is because it's basically like a setup episode where when you finish watching the whole series, that episode actually becomes like one of the best episodes. So I was like, I should watch that. It's on Amazon Prime, right? That's an Amazon Prime classic? I don't know. Is it on FX? I don't know, there's too many networks. I wish we lived in a world where you just went to TV.com and all the shows were there. Okay, you gotta use your cerebrum on this one. Because it's possible that the HP would be considered more useful, but I don't believe that's going to be the case. But it's tight. This is a tight situation. Empty vessel with an orbital is incredible, and the damage has gotten better, but we are low on HP. We have to play it real tight to the chest. Don't get me wrong. Again, empty vessel is... Shouldn't have even opened it. Shouldn't have even opened it. Empty vessel is sick. Actually, like, one of the best all-around items in the game. As long as you can enable it. I'll go to bat for it. I love it. Don't even open that other red chest yet. Until you get speed, you're in a dangerous position, okay? But we might actually want to remove empty vessel temporarily by picking up HP in order to get some stuff that's more useful for us. Okay, that's fine. I felt like we'd already taken some of the worst pills, so... We're insulated from... Yeah, that's good. We're insulated from some of the ill effects just because we've already dealt with them. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about, apparently. Thinking about TV. What you doing, NL? Nothing. What you thinking about? TV shows. I'd be interested to see, like... Because some television shows, you're like, I know why this episode is going to be hated. Like, I understand why the series finale of Game of Thrones and the series finale of Dexter, I understand why those are, like, hated. reviled even. Same with How I Met Your Mother. I totally understand it. How I Met Your Mother is kind of another can of worms because the ending is bad, but that show probably shouldn't have lasted, like, as long as it did. Probably should have ended, like, 6 years earlier, but regardless. I had my good times with How I Met Your Mother. You know, the first couple of seasons, you're like, I ain't never seen a TV show like this. It's kind of like that last, I don't know, it depends how you feel about the Big Bang Theory, I guess. But the last, like, classic 3-camera sitcom before everything started to look like The Office and Parks and Rec temporarily. Anyway, what am I talking about? Oh, but some shows, I'm like, dude, I wonder, because I watched 4 seasons of Better Call Saul in the past 12 calendar months. Wonder what the worst episode of Better Call Saul is. I can't think of one. I really think it's probably just going to be an episode where you're like, not that much happened. It was still good. It still had the Vince Gilligan's DNA all over it, but it just, it wasn't that lively, and the other episodes are better by comparison. I don't know. I can't remember there being an episode of Better Call Saul that's, like, divisive. I think we will go with box and hope for a spirit heart, and it did work. We got a good trinket as well. We got a good card as well. And we got a pill that's, I mean, not good, obviously, but maybe not terrible. And we don't need an arcade, so I'm actually gonna... I mean, this is how committed I am to the streak right now, okay? Normally, I would just kind of send it, as I'm sure you're aware. But we're gonna really... Because I think we could set ourselves up on this floor. That's where I want that bomb. I'm happy with that. That's so helpful. I honestly think we could set ourselves up on this floor to maybe be safe for the whole run, or at least to use the Emperor card on our next floor and pop a deal with the devil and, get something useful. So originally here, what I was gonna do is go to the shop and buy a Spirit Heart, but then I thought, you know what? Now that we found 2 Fortune Tellers, we might as well take a stab at it this way, and did it work? I mean, we got a lot of bombs. If that's something you consider yourself interested in, and we got a lot of bombs, but this is a situation where we are gonna put the rush in a little bit because we're not particularly strong. We're not particularly weak, but we're not particularly strong. Bercano. All that for Bercano, huh? It is appropriate, in my opinion, for us to get in and out as soon as possible here. So we'll probably take speed upgrade. And it looks like we will be in the mix a little bit longer here because we didn't get too much... I don't know. I might even leave it there for a second just to think about it. Because it's really hard to say no to a damage upgrade. But I think our damage really isn't that good. It isn't the problem, necessarily. I don't know if this run has, like, a quote-unquote problem right now. Let's just let it ride. Maybe by the time we get a little bit further in here, we'll decide something that is more relevant. And you know what? It seems like, for now, I'm gonna call it. My apprehension has helped us out a little bit. Let's use this to hit this. So if you're an audio-only listener, that sentence probably didn't help you out too much. We used the temporary invincibility from an activated empty vessel. Yo, so good. To combine with Leo to stomp on a mushroom to try to get a reward, either magic mushroom or a pill. And I feel the... need to let you know that that did not pay dividends for us. It didn't cost us anything, but it provided... Well, it cost us opportunity, I suppose. But apart from that, everything's okay. Keep listening. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's Brahms' lullaby, sweetheart. One of the most beautiful melodies ever constructed. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. I've also been thinking a lot about Animal Crossing. I only found out yesterday that you can get villagers that you do not like to leave your island. I went on a little bit of a saga with Animal Crossing. Let me explain. This is my first Animal Crossing game. I thought there were like 20 villagers. I'm being 100% serious with you. That's why I was never surprised that everybody knew the villagers. When everyone was like, "You've got Bob," I was like, "Yo, Bob must be like 1 in 20." He's so well liked. So I was like, you know what could be funny and also capitalize on the zeitgeist around Animal Crossing right now is to do an Animal Crossing villagers tier list. Hey, this guy's like a cool cat. I gotta give him an S tier. Hey, what the heck is this guy? He's like an astronaut rat with an eyebrow permanently cocked like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That's gonna be a D tier, my man. This hurt me. This one hurt me. Then I went on the internet and I was like, how many villagers are in Animal Crossing New Horizons? And it said 332. And I went, what? And you're telling me some of the people out here listening right now are like, yeah, there's 332. I know every single one of them and their names and their personalities. Anyway, so we'll talk about that maybe happening at some point. But it's maybe when I get villagers, like when I get all the villagers in my town, I will rate them or something like that, because I think you can get up to 10. But I also found out, behind the facade of this incredibly wholesome, play as much or as little as you want sort of game, is the world's most Mean Girls-esque high school Game of Thrones situation, where, you know, you have villagers that you like and villagers that you hate, and if you don't like a villager, you basically bully them off the island. I'm being, if you, by the way, don't play Animal Crossing, you're like, he's exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. You go to the mayor, or, well, you're the mayor, kind of. You go to Isabel, who's like the bureaucrat in charge of your island, and you go, hey, you know, I'm not a big fan of Flip. And then she goes, wink, wink, say no more. Then you go hit Flip on the head like 8 times with a bug net, and he starts crying and goes, go away, I don't want to speak to you, you made me sad. And then eventually he'll move away if you keep doing that. Some of you are sociopaths. I didn't even realize it until this moment. It's very, trust me, the irony is not lost on me. I have many times, I still want the speed upgrade. I have many times laughed at moments of emotion in video games. Usually it's because the emotion just doesn't land for me because I've been bantering over the whole story. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have taken that Eternal Heart now that I think about it. God of War is a great example. I was cracking jokes at the emotional climax of that film. A lot of people were very annoyed by that, and I understand why. That being said, I'm being as vulnerable as possible here. The thought of talking to one of my first 2 villagers, or any of them, I only have 5 right now. The thought of going up to somebody that was like, hey, nice island. And you go, hey, you want to move here? And they go, boy, I've never been invited to anything in my whole life before. They move to your island, they build their house, they set it up, they're like, I love it here. And then you're like, go away, I don't like you, I want a squirrel now. Like, the thought of doing that, it doesn't bring me close to tears. Like, I'm not that weak, but maybe like in 5 years, based on my emotional trajectory as an adult so far, where at first I was like, I don't feel anything, and now I'm like crying at the music in Marvel movies and stuff like that. Like, it legitimately, like, I couldn't bring myself to do it. As far as I'm concerned, the best villagers in Animal Crossing are the villagers that came to your island first and went, hey, I really like what you got going on here. I would never, and it's easy for me to say because I got some decent villagers, okay? I've got Bob, who is a cool cat who is purple, and I've got Flip, who is a Diddy Kong style, like, chimpanzee, and he's, honestly, he seems like a cool dude. He loves working out and calls me Re-Rack, and last night he was sick and he said if only I had some medicine. I went out and risked life and limb to get him some medicine because I don't want my boy to suffer on my watch. It's true. This is all true. I'm being sincere. I also have Mira. Mira seems okay. She's like a rabbit. That's about it. I don't know too much more about her personality. She seems kind of aloof, and I'm into it. Then I got, like, you know, Sky is like a cool dog or something. I don't really understand what's happening. Yo, do we want the all stats up? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say we don't. And instead what we wanted was Empty Vessel back, but The all stats up was not worth getting rid of the value of Shoop da Whoop for me. I think Shoop da Whoop could be amazing in the future. But I'm being 100% sincere. If you, and the honesty is on point here. In a lot of games, like I think if a game tries to be serious and is like, here's why you should care about this character, my initial reaction is like, yeah, I don't care. If the game is like, this character's just living their life on this island and they want to be your friend, how do you reply? And I'm like, I would die for you. Well, I wouldn't actually die for my Animal Crossing villagers. I'm just saying it's starting to tug at that instinct. I will, whatever villagers I get on my island, those are the villagers I'm going to stick with, and we're going to craft our own story, okay? By the way, I don't think you're actually like a monster if you tell your villagers to go away. At the end of the day, I acknowledge that this is kind of like, all right, I'll take it and hope to get a deal with the devil now. There's our all stats up. I guess we could always just go back for Guppy's Paw, but I mean, that's a lot of walking. I don't actually think you're a monster. I recognize that it's just a fault of the human brain that I'm prescribing like real human emotions to what are ones and zeros. And it would be hypocritical of me to say otherwise. However, I'm also like, I can't believe that some of you would, like, be like, hey, nice zit, Eggman, and make a real person feel bad. Then go to your island and be like, you're stinky, Sky, get out of here. Go! Even, like, honestly, if I will never rewatch Game of Thrones. I can't believe it's come up 3 times this episode to begin with, but I'll never rewatch Game of Thrones. The most heart-wrenching scene of Game of Thrones is not any character's death. These are light spoilers for Season 1. Maybe Season 2. I can't remember specifically. But the most heart-wrenching moment in that show is when Arya tells her direwolf to run away. Nymeria, is that it? Like, she's got this dog, but she knows, like, you know, if the dog stays, that's Season 1, right? That's super early. If the dog stays, the Lannisters are gonna, like, kill it. But the dog is, you know, I don't want to be rude here, but the dog is kind of like, it can't understand, it can't comprehend, right? So Arya has to, like, almost bully the dog to get it to run away and be like, go away, nobody likes you. That scene is like, because the animal doesn't know, dude. It's just like, I don't understand why the only person I trusted is now telling me to go. That scene will, like, get me every time. Even though I know that it... When I first saw it, I was like, she'll be back. Nymeria, she's gonna be a major player in the Game of Thrones. Dun, 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 dun. Nope. Anyway. Regardless. Just something like that is like that's an emotional trigger point for me. What's weird as well is that I don't think it's based on, like, personal trauma. As strange as that sounds. Like, I don't think I've ever had... Well, you know what? These stories are going to make me seem a little saintly, maybe. But I have dealt with this, but not on the side of the person being, like, exiled. But kind of like... Well, I'll just tell you the story. You can derive it for yourself. So in high school, we had, like, a huge group of friends... light acquaintances. I mean, it's not like we went over to each other's cocktail parties. We were like 13 years old, right? But basically, like, for 2 years in middle school, there was this accelerated program class that all of us were a part of. So we were kind of friends by default because we were kept in this, you know, same class with the same classmates for 2 years. When we got to high school, though, you know, there's a new mix. You can get new people to hang out with. You're not necessarily just stuck... Not to be rude, but stuck hanging out with the people that you were hanging out with in middle school. And it was a known fact that a couple of people in this group were not necessarily well liked. Not bad people, but annoying, like kind of grating. And I'll say it, you know, like they're nice people, but at the time, they're a little annoying. I'm not going to hold it against them. Yet again, I want to reiterate, they were 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. Even the coolest 12-year-old is kind of annoying. as an adult, anyway. Help. What was I saying? Anyway, one day, you know, we all used to sit together at lunch every single day. One day, I noticed, you know, like a couple of these quote-unquote annoying kids were sitting down at a table, and some people who normally would have sat with them sat at a different table, like unannounced, which is a shot across the bow, right? And they started like their own lunch table. So I didn't even know it, but today was the day you were gonna have to draw straws or draw lots, you know, to see who's gonna sit with who. I refused. Everyone knew what was happening, but it was just kind of one of those awkward moments where you're like, I guess they're sitting over there then. Weird, right? No word of a lie, and I don't say this to make myself sound saintly. This is the truth of how the story happened. They, from the quote-unquote cool table, they motioned over to me like, hey, come on, sit over here. Like, we welcome you into our enclave to sit over here. I shook my head. First off, it takes some serious cojones to be sitting at a lunch table and be like, sorry guys, I got a better deal going on over here. But the other thing was like, I guess I had the same kind of DNA, well, obviously the same DNA, but the same kind of personality back then. I was like, man, how would these people feel if I just like got up and walked over to the other table? Even though, to be honest, it would have been good for my social life in high school, I stayed at that table. And I'm glad that I did. In the end, I kind of got, I don't want to say punished, but like, you know, I had to hang out with some kids that I thought were like kind of annoying instead of some kids that I thought were cool. I know you're waiting for the moral of the story where you're like, but then I found out the annoying kids were actually like really nice people that had a lot of positive, they were just misunderstood. No, they were like honestly kind of annoying. I think they got over it eventually, but you know, we never talked after high school, let me put it that way. But at the same time, I was like, first off, I can't treat another human being like that, at least like not in this context. And then like beyond that, like I don't think I could live with myself. I would face like the pleasure I get about having like maybe better company, I suppose, would be dampened by the fact that I would be like, yeah, but I'm one of history's greatest monsters. So it just, I've always had that kind of, that thread running through me that's like, you know, it's tough, right? To just tell someone like, I don't really want to hang out with you. I couldn't do it to my villagers. As far as I'm concerned, all those villagers are cool. You know why I could never do it to a villager? I would never want to. The villagers don't even really bug you. You know, you go over and talk to them and they're like, hey, how you doing? By the way, I love you. You're awesome. And I'm like, okay, thank you. They never like, you know, send you a message at like 1 a.m. and they're like, I'm sad. And you're like, oh God, I was just about to go to bed. You send me a, you know, okay, what about? Nothing. Yeah, oh, it's gonna be one of those conversations, huh? Like in terms of like, compared to human beings, the Animal Crossing villagers are not demanding at all. It's a very selfish social engagement. Even if you're playing till like, you know, midnight, you just go to their house, knock, knock, knock. And they're like, hey, how you doing, re-rack? Yeah, here's my tribute. It's a dumbbell rack. Put it in your house. Please, don't bother me. Shouldn't have been standing there. I think our HP is fine, by the way, but just don't want to get too lost in the sauce here. It's just one of those things I could never do. But to be honest, like, it's a weird one, because it doesn't really... What I was going to say earlier before I got into the story that makes me look like an awesome human being is, it's like if someone came up to me, like I'm really visualizing this situation right now. If somebody came up to me and was like, we don't want to hang out with you anymore, I honestly think that would hurt me less. I'm not saying it would be zero pain, but I think I would find that a lot easier to deal with than going up to somebody and being like, hey, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I think a lot of people will relate to that as well. I don't think this is an unusual situation, to be clear. I turned something about a video game into something very real very quickly, but it's true. I will not talk to my villagers and be like, get out of here. Now, the one exception might be that rat with the eyebrow. I'm just being straight up with you. Something went wrong there. So the Nintendo did not mean to create him in that way. I don't know if he's aroused or coquettish. Like, I don't really know what his vibe is. No, even, I'm actually being facetious. Even the rat, like, looking at me with his dumb little eyebrow cocked all the time, I don't think I could find it in my heart to be like, get off my island. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I got it in me. I don't want that anymore. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Having an emotional, not breakdown, but a real crisis of faith over Animal Crossing. Having a great time with that game, though, dude. How good is Animal Crossing? The answer is great, unless you're trying to play with 2 people on the same Switch. In which case, a little stinky. But hey, you know, I'm not in that situation, thankfully. I feel for the people who are. Seems like people are upset about it. I think they should be upset about it. To have a system where 2 people can't really both get enjoyment of the game on the same console is a little silly to me. Like, why can't you just have, like, you know, 2 different profiles set up for 2 different islands? I mean, one person could play for 12 hours and then pass it off. It's not like they're hacking the system or anything. Okay, hold on here. A theme is okay. Because of Balls of Steel, I'm gonna take the other one as well. And we got Dark Matter. It's the slightest spice. It's not an enormous degree of spice, but it's the slightest spice. We don't fly either because of the Bone Heart, which is kind of an unintended consequence. I really do appreciate Balls of Steel. Luck is getting ridiculous. Might as well gulp. Go ahead and gulp. This run got quite a good deal. Wow, that was just really bad, honestly. This run got quite a good deal scarier than it looked like it would right off the start. We really, without being overly negative, because it's still probably, like, to be honest, this is probably right around average territory. I don't know, it might even be a little bit below average, to be fair, but it's not like markedly below average. But either way, it looked like it was cruising pretty well early, and it's kind of never really kept that pace up. It had a high Y-intercept, but a fairly shallow slope. Let's put it that way. Let's make it very relatable with a linear equation reference that everybody can understand. Could you just, if you'll excuse me, you're not really, like, even doing anything. If you could just perish, that would, okay, thank you. Then, keep the stats for a minute. Keep the stats for a minute. Because I think, now that I'm thinking about it, having a +1 luck stat from a Vibrant Bulb, isn't that, like, super sweet when we go to the chest? I don't know what the difference between effectively 6 and 7 luck are. It seems like the kind of thing that's like, if you don't press the spacebar, you're gonna get more chests. That's how I'm choosing to look at it. I'm just trying to visualize. You know, I know in sports psychology, they're always trying to get athletes to visualize, and I really feel like I might slip into that role, whether by on purpose or by accident, as a result of the fact that we're about to have 36 wins in a row, which is truly esports level for Isaac. I'm just waiting for the call from FaZe Clan any day of the week. I think I would really fit in with the culture they got going on at that organization. I'm visualizing all the ways this run could fail. And I think really the most common thread between them is using our orbital too much. Wow, that doesn't really help. These are all pretty not good. But yeah, the most common thread I would say is using that orbital more than is sensible. I really wanted to get the virus last on that one. Let's go. Hindsight, this actually doesn't open up much for us, but let's see what we got in here. I will use... Oh, be careful. Jacob doesn't touch it. Thank God for Explosivo. For all of our, like, progressive damage dealers from Fruitcake. Thank the Lord. Because our base damage stats are not getting the job done. Ooh, careful. We got him. We stuck him. We stuck him with a plasma grenade. He's toasted. A chest. Yo. Okay, this is like a no-brainer. You go back to the room with 3 crappy items and re-roll them. And honestly, I think we'll just take all 3 of them just so we can get a move on here. I think chocolate milk is the big one, but I think the bombs will be fine. I feel like the boss is more likely to be up here. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I'm thinking right now. High Priestess, you know, use it immediately, and then make it appear that that paid no dividends, even though it still provided you with a little bit of use. I think we're fine. I'm getting a little bit, like, overly concerned, I think. This is obviously not the right place to be, and... Okay, well, it's got to be down, then. That's fine. Throw some homing fire bombs in there. Thank you. Thank you. Love when you store up a fully charged chocolate milk shot and then you realize that it's Tiny Planet. It just rings around your head, hitting absolutely nothing. Get him, please. Get him. Pay him. Pay that man his money. These guys are almost as bad as I am right now. I don't use those words lightly. That's a great personal attack. Okay, honestly, pretty good haul there. You know what? I mean, it's weird, but while we're here, why not check and see if this little dinky room here is the boss fight? I really don't think it will be, but we're already in that kind of awkward period where it would be irresponsible of me to do another episode of anything because the NLSS is going to start pretty soon. So I'm kind of like, I got nothing but time right now. Might as well get weird with it. Yeah, it's like 35 minutes, and you're like, you know. At this point, oh, absolutely not. In fact, I take great personal offense to that. The average Isaac episode might be around 35 minutes, but, you know, you wouldn't want to risk it. We could probably do like a golf with your friends sort of thing, but let's just play it safe, shall we? Now, I'll tell you, I'm very eager to use my orbital on the boss fight. That's what I've been saving up for. That's the true money maker right there. Help. And though it might be spicy, I have a game plan as well, believe it or not, for right here, for this very room that you find ourselves, or we find ourselves in presently. It's very simple. Help. It's very simple. What we do is break this guy. Done. Thank you. And then walk into him. Mission failed. Mission extremely failed. I really thought we'd get at least one demon heart. Okay, so just charge it up, baby. Keep it moving. Keep it grooving. You're doing fine. You got that permanent Polaroid invincibility. You got a little... I'm a fire and a laser, also known as Shoop D Whoop. And, my man's is pretty much dead. A little bit of a spicy run. Perhaps my apprehension was not misapplied. For now, though, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps it a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!